Whoopsie. Oopsie. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Schmidt Lavelle, your favorite show to listen to each and every week. My name is Tom Lavelle, and as always, I'm accompanied by Mr. Timothy Schmidt. We appreciate you listening, and we appreciate you interacting with us. All the people out there that follow us and comment and like and share everything we're doing, we really appreciate it. And if you don't already follow us, give us a little follow. Give us a little follow on whatever social media platform you prefer. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening.
America Online, Prodigy,
Instant AIM.
Instant Messenger.
Big episode this week, a fun episode we have planned for you, a lot to get to. But before we get to all of that, we got to bring up, and I'm talking about perseverance. I'm talking about pushing through. I'm talking about when you're down and you don't feel like you can do it. You might not want to do it, but you know it's something that you got to take care of. You got to get done. And that is, I'm describing my co-host, my friend, Mr. Timothy Schmidt. Tim, you had everything up against you today. You could have easily said, you know what, not tonight. But you've decided to push through and be here with us to give the people what they're searching for, what they're thirsty for, which is more Schmidt and Lavelle content. You had a rough night, Timmy.
Tom, we're not talking MJ flu game. Okay, we're not talking Kirk Gibson in the 88 World Series coming off the bench with a broken leg, hitting a home run to win the game. We're not talking Walt Frazier, coming out of that locker room for the Knicks in the finals. We're talking Tim Schmidt.
Yeah.
Coming out of the dentist chair, right on to the Schmidt and Lavelle show to deliver yet another absolute phenomenal show.
Tim, I don't know how you're doing it. You seem to be getting your P's and your S's and your B's seem to be coming out okay. I know you're fighting through that. The pronunciation is what I feel like will be the big problem tonight.
Well, Tom, I went in for a 4:30 appointment, and we had a plans on recording here around 8:00, and it is now 9:30ish, 9ish. And the Novocaine is yet to wear off.
In the chair for a little longer than anticipated.
That's correct. Yeah, a lot of work done, but hey, you gotta keep a beautiful smile right, and you have to visit your dentist every 6 months. You got to brush, you got to floss, you got to use a water pick, Tom. Those are the lessons I've learned today.
They've been pushing the water pick. I was getting the water pick pushed to me at the dentist the last time I was there. Not like I'd ever been water pick pushed before. They usually just said floss, but I always floss. I'm a big flosser, but they were pushing the water pick this time.
It's interesting that the new technology they have in dentistry now. Like they're doing like 3D like pictures of my mouth, and they're showing me like sides of my teeth that I could never see before. I'm like, dude, are they my teeth? Like this is pretty special stuff you got going on right now.
Right.
It's a whole different thing at the dentist now. I like it. It's not a bad thing. I was saying to you pre-show, like I feel bad for these people because, sorry again for our listeners, because I'm talking out the side of my mouth, and if I sound a little sloppy, it's because of the Novocaine. But hopefully by the end of the show it wears off. But like these people are doing a service. It's yeoman's work.
Yeoman's work.
They want to make people look good and their smiles look good, and obviously it takes two to tango because people have to take care of their teeth too. But Tom, you better go every 6 months, Tom, or else you're going to be in a chair for 3.5 hours and doing a podcast with barely can talk.
I'm an every 6 monther now. I did have my time where I wasn't going as often. I couldn't afford dental insurance for the longest time. That was a tricky situation for me. So now I'm a every 6 monther. As I say, they are pushing the water pick, which is something I'm finding interesting now. And Tim, everyone can relate to that. I don't think anyone really loves going to the dentist. It's not like a great thing. Oh, nice. I have a dentist appointment today, but it's one of the necessary evils. And, God bless them for taking care of us. And so that, the little pain now saves big pains later, right? Is that what we're saying?
That's correct. That's correct.
All right. So, as we were saying right before we got to Timmy and him pushing through, we appreciate you listening. We appreciate you following. If you don't follow, please give us a follow on whatever social media platform you feel like, or all the social media platforms. Whichever you can, tell your friends, tell your family about Schmidt Lavelle, the best new podcast in all of Northeastern America.
And Thailand.
And Thailand. Big in Thailand, especially Bangkok.
We got one listener from Thailand.
I used to think Thailand was an amusement park back in the day. My parents said that someone I knew was going to Thailand, and I said, I want to go to Thailand. I thought it was like Disneyland, but it's not.
It's different type of country.
I guess different rides. So, Tim, a lot of interaction with the people that are listening to Schmidt Lavelle this week. Tons of comments rolling in. Let's start first with our comments from the Blockbuster Movies 4th of July special, the summer Blockbuster movie special. Tim, Mr. Heastiff replied, "Great show and amazing movies. I knew Timmy's number one was Jaws somehow." And then he had Armageddon with a sad emoji next to that. We all know the gut-wrenching story of Armageddon. Harry, you're a hero. We love you. Thanks for saving our planet. Another comment from Mike McD 53. Commented, you need better movies out there. And I wrote back, well, what movies are we missing? He commented, Mission Impossible 1. Tim, is that top five?
It's a solid flick. It's not better than any of the movies that we have on our top fives. Look, if you want to do an honorable mention list, yeah. And we talked about a couple of these honorable mentions like Ghostbusters and a couple other movies that, that just didn't crack the top five. I'm sorry. Mission Impossible 1 does not crack the top five. It's a solid flick, a solid franchise. There's a new one coming up pretty soon. Hold on. That's another.
Oh boy.
That's cement.
Man. Oh, cement's coming out of his mouth now. Here we go. Tim is pushing through.
So it's just not up
this
there.
show is Mission Impossible for you, Timmy.
Oh my God. But anyway,
that's even on the lower end of honorable mention, I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree. It definitely set up that franchise. It's one of the better ones, but as they've gotten bigger and the budget for those films has gone through the roof. I mean, they've gotten better and better, and there's been talented actors. Dude, that first one had Jon Voight, Emilio Estevez.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Who else was in that movie? There's a couple other people in that movie, but overall, it was a solid movie. I just wouldn't have
Vin Rames?
Top five.
Vin Rames?
He's been in all of them.
Yeah. Is he in all of them? So, Mission Impossible is a solid movie. He also suggested right after that, and I think this was a little bit of a joke, The Other Side of Darkness. Now, Tim, I'm wondering, do you understand that reference, The Other Side of Darkness?
Isn't that Transformers?
No, The Other Side of Darkness is one of the many I'm just finding out about this, but from Seinfeld, they had all these different movies that they would see and all these crazy names for these movies. One of the movies, The Other Side of Darkness. Maybe one episode we'll get into all those movie names from the Seinfeld shows. I know you're a huge Seinfeld guy, and I'm a fan myself. I don't know as much about it as you. I've seen all the episodes, but I don't think I can rattle them off like you do. You refer to them. It seems like every episode we're talking about Seinfeld a little bit.
I make a reference here and there. I try not to stick on it because I know there's other podcasts that are directly like their entire material is about Seinfeld. And we don't want to make that this show, Tom, because we're more than that, Tom.
Yeah,
But it
we're
is nice
originals.
to, well, yeah, it's nice to reference a buddy of mine, Stevie McCauley, Gut as we call him. He sends me like a text about a Seinfeld show that he's watching almost on a daily basis. So it's it's a good reference point, but let's keep it at that.
Yeah. All right. So then we got a list from CMAC 1010. List A in a landslide.
Yeah. I think we're looking at the younger generation here that's really kind of swaying the poll. I know you put out the poll. Um, a lot of those movies that I had on my top five are stalwarts for me, right? Like Jaws is like the number one blockbuster of all time, summer blockbuster of all time. And I there pay homage to that movie. And honestly, I watched it the other day. I know you did too,
I
and it
did.
holds up. It holds up.
Incredible. Incredible.
It's a solid movie. What they did, again, I talked about this last episode, what they did with that shark and the way they filmed that movie in 1975 is just, it's uncanny. And yeah,
Say Steven
Steven
Spielberg. Oh man.
Stevens are my
This is going to be a
weakness.
fun episode. If you're listening to the whole thing, and you guess as the episode goes on, I think we're going to be running into phrases and words that Timmy's just going to try to spit out.
Anyway, he makes several appearances on my list. So whatever. I think the younger generation though appreciates the movies that you've put on your list. I mean, look,
I would
Forrest
say
Gump is
from 85, like if you were born probably maybe even 84 and below, you're leaning more towards that Jaws list. 84 and up, maybe even 83. Because the older, like, I'm 40. If I talk to someone 45, Jaws is 100% on their list. You know what I mean? But if I talk to someone who's 35, they're not talking about Jaws, which is weird.
I mean, there's other people that haven't even seen Beverly Hills Cop either.
Right.
Like Beverly Hills Cop is one of my favorite like comedy crime movies. Like it's just a funny movie. Eddie Murphy's like he's just so funny in it. And then honestly, him and Judge Reinhold and Taggart, whoever plays Taggart, they have
Yeah.
a great dynamic between each other. It's just a good movie.
And another comment, our last comment from the Blockbuster Movies 4th of July special was from our boy, Dad.Rad. Again, he commented, and this is something I would also say when we're talking about our lists. He said, without a doubt, B, Top Gun is a chick movie. I would dare to say that your movies are more manly movies. Does that make sense, Tim? More of a men's list. I feel like the men are usually choosing your list over mine. Mine's, I guess you fall into that more chicky category with the
Well, you put
Armageddons,
Top
the
Gun.
Top Guns, stuff like that.
Yeah. There's scenes in those movies that you have like the Take My Breath Away scene from
Right.
Top Gun where Maverick and Kelly McGillis are have their little
Between the
softcore.
sheets. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got
And then
Ben
the same with
Affleck and
yeah.
Liv Tyler up on the mountain. Do you think anyone else in the world is doing what we're doing right now? Well, God, I hope so. Or else, why are we even
Yeah.
fighting for this?
Talk about all time cheese line. Yeah, he's got the little like animal
Animal cracker
crackers like around
is the
her.
gazelle running through. Classic part.
I mean, I know that's what I would be doing about 20 minutes before I got on a spaceship to go to
Yeah.
save the planet.
No, I'd be Steve Buscemi.
Absolutely, dude. Get out of here.
Well, we appreciate you all listening and enjoying that episode. I think we're going to be doing some more lists in the future, and they're organically going to pop up. It's not like we're going to force these down your throats. We got stuff to talk about every week. And, when we throw something out, it's usually going to tie into maybe the time of year or something that we've brought up on this show before, or we get a ton of requests. So if you have something that we want to talk about, please leave us a comment if you're listening to this. All right, another clip from this week that we were getting a lot of talk on, our hot dog eating contest clip where I said 76 hot dogs. I don't think I've eaten 76 hot dogs in my life. Frano2742 underscore MLO says, 3 dogs at Dollar Dog Night? My kids eat more dogs than Lavelle.
He's right. I mean, dude, that's I think you get served hot dogs in kindergarten sometimes. Like what you stated in that little segment that you didn't eat more than 3 hot dogs in a year. Like you said that, I believe.
I did.
Like
I would
that's
say in my life, I've had like 40 years. If you divide it up, I would say I would average it out to 3 a year in my life. So that would be 120 hot dogs, which is more than 76, but still not like, you think you're getting at least a dozen hot
dude,
dogs a year?
one of the quickest meals in my household growing up was hot dogs and baked beans. Like my
I
dad would
was
just
going to
cut my
say
mom and dad.
we did have that a significant amount of time. So, I mean, I guess the hot
Yeah.
dogs chopped up in the baked beans is, I might be off on my numbers.
Yeah, it's like one of the first foods that you force your kids to eat. It's
Right.
like, all right, let's cut up the hot dog.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Ugh."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Right.
dump
Yeah.
a half a bottle of ketchup on there. And you're
Yeah.
like, it's
Yeah. My brother, to be honest, I didn't love Franks and beans when I was a kid. I wouldn't eat it. We would get it with cornbread. I loved cornbread though. I love cornbread.
cornbread solid. It depends on how it's cooked too. And like some people have better cornbread than others, but
You
I
don't
mean,
want to dry cornbread. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So, all right. So we got that from Stolzer J. Says, I know girls from the bar that have had more than 76 hot dogs this weekend. Jay, we appreciate that comment. And then on some side threads, I was getting ripped by people calling me basically
Oh,
un-American, a piece of shit, because I wasn't eating hot dogs and how great hot dogs were and this and that. And I had to defend myself. So I feel like I'm going to have to start eating more hot dogs, Tim.
yeah. Just to go back, I don't think Stolzer's comment was referring to the hot dogs that we were talking about.
Did you pick that up? I think you're right, too.
Uh,
Funny comment nonetheless. All right. So the cookie, I put out a short little vid about stealing cookies from a 1-year-old birthday party. Got some comments from Stu Binz, Stubbinz. Stu Binz says, just bully, calling me a bully for stealing those cookies that were meant for the kids. You know what I said? Those kids can kick rocks. They don't appreciate them like I appreciate them. From my wife, Nikki Lavelle, forgot the part where you withheld the cookie from your child who it was originally intended for. I didn't forget that part. My kid loves chocolate. All right. These were vanilla cookies. I grabbed him a chocolate donut or a chocolate cupcake that was there. That was his. I took his cookie. So when I said I stole 6, I had 2 kids at that party. Technically, I feel like I only stole 4 because 2 of those cookies were allotted for my 2 children.
well, let me also ask you quick, Tom. Was this at the end of the party that you decided to swipe these 4 additional cookies that you probably
No,
shouldn't have taken?
it
All right,
was
so
not. It was right away. I saw the cookies. I said, "Oh, there they are." And I've known about these cookies, Tim. We had them at
so
Benny's first Holy Communion. There's been a couple. There's been a couple other parties where these cookies have come in. And when I saw them bring that tray, and I said, "Where are those cookies from?" I was like, "Are those Aunt Mary Ann's cookies?" And they said, "Yes." I knew I was taking Tim. I'm telling you, those cookies with that cup of coffee in the morning. Oh my God, it was so fucking good, dude. It was so good. They just they're like the perfect consistency, a great taste, like not too sweet. They got the homemade icing on top. She does a great job. I mean, they were little ones. Look, they're little footballs, and Aunt Marianne, I don't know what she does. They're not too heavy. They're not too light. They're like just perfect. They're like perfectly done. And if you looked at the video on the undercarriage there, you see like a nice light brown toast. Like, oh my God, dude, you can't get better than these cookies. They're so
So,
fucking good.
so Aunt Mary Ann's cookies bring all the boys to the yard, I guess, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They definitely do. At least this boy. And so I commented back that the cookie game is cutthroat. You know what I mean? When I'm in this to get some cookies, I'm taking no prisoners. I'm getting these cookies are out there. I'm getting them.
I appreciate a good cookie. I try to cook. I try to bake cookies for my daughters for Christmas, and they turned out like fucking stones, dude. They were terrible. It was
Oh boy.
awful. I put like so much time and effort into it, and they turned
Oh
out like fucking
no.
hard as rocks. It's probably why I had to go to the dentist.
Cracked the tooth.
Yeah, and like they, as kids, they're at that time they were 9 and 8, and yeah, they're as honest as they can be, and they're like, "Dad, these suck." I was like,
Crushed.
"Aunt Allie's cookies are so much better." I'm like, "Shit, I know."
She probably had some waiting in the wings.
I am not the pastry prince, though, Tom. I will tell you that.
I have made some decent cookies, Whenever I make something, I just go online and I try to find the best recipe that I can with the most 5-star ratings, and that's what I go with. I made some sugar cookies last year. I guess this is a funny story. There's a guy that comes into our bar to Graham's Pub that we know as Cousin Zanny. Cousin Zanny had, believe it or not, a drug issue. And he was in jail for quite some time. Nice guy. He was in a coma. Got arrested while he was in a coma. So he doesn't remember a lot of stuff. He comes in, and I always joke
No,
with him that he broke the door because our door's always busted. And I said, hey, you're gonna have to pay for that door. And he goes, "Well, I broke the door. If I broke the door, I'll pay. I didn't know I broke the door. Blah blah blah." And I do it every single time. And every single time, he really thinks that he
he
broke
falls
the
for it.
door. Yeah, and we joke about it because everyone knows that he didn't break the door. Either way, it was his birthday. Well, I baked him some cookies and I put some nice blue icing on them, some number. I made him look like Xanax. I made him some Xanax cookies. He loved them. You're crazy, man. I love you. You're crazy. So they were delicious too. There was no real Xanax in them. Tim, let me get to our final comment. A great comment. Love to hear the feedback. This is from one Mr. Matty Diz. Keep cranking the content. Something is gonna break.
Ooh,
Referring to our videos, he loves them. He thinks they're great. He enjoys them, particularly the wrestling. And he says, you guys got something going on here. Something's going to break. And it's not going to break without all our wonderful listeners out there. We appreciate you listening. And as we've been saying, give us a follow, a like, a share, a comment, anything you want us to talk about, please let us know. We love your feedback, positive, negative, whatever. Thank you
well,
for
I will say, Tom, we that's the most traction that we've gotten over the course of the first few months here with the show, and yeah, that's a lot of comments for over a weekend. A week's worth of material we put out, and we're getting a lot of feedback, and we appreciate it. And hey, let's keep it going, Tom. Let's keep the momentum going, baby.
And Tim, I mean, there was a lot of comments I had to leave out. There was a ton of comments this week. So
Nice.
to your point, it's been growing and growing, and we definitely appreciate it. So as I was talking about the 1-year-old birthday party I was at, Tim, I brought it up to you this weekend.
Oh, oh,
One
dude.
one
Oh,
year
go
old
ahead. I'm sorry.
birthday parties. So this is what happens. My wife, she gets a an invitation for a 1-year-old birthday party. She does the RSVP. She finds out what the kid wants. She buys the gift. With my it's not like she pays for the gift. You know what I mean? Like we both pay for the gift, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's the day of the party. She's out, I forget what she was doing.
Gallivanting,
Whatever, doing something.
having our coffee.
By the way, um, I need you to put that gift together. So and so is going to be there to pick it up in about an hour.
Wait a second.
And they're going to borrow our cooler. Can you get ice? She
Uh,
says. One, two, three, and I got an hour. I've got two kids at home and a toy that I need to put together that is not I need a wrench, a hammer, and a screwdriver to put this thing together.
and about
While,
six beers too.
dude, my question to you is at what point do you need to like where does my responsibility of putting the gift
No,
together,
no,
where is that? Where does
no,
that lie here?
no, no. You know what? It's and you didn't fill me in. You did give me pre-warning on this, and you told me about it. And you sent me a video of yourself putting this thing together, and I felt awful for you. Um, Look, a toy is a gift you give to somebody. It comes in a box. You wrap the box. You give it to the person. It's that person's responsibility to either put the toy together or shove it in the closet. Okay. Um,
And by
and
toy, I should say this was a car that you push. You push. It's
okay,
a 1 year old. So you put the 1 year old in. There's seat buckles that go with it. There's a horn, whatever, and you push it for them to ride.
sure. Yeah. Well, this person who has a new 1 year old, guess what? He gets the pleasure of being a dad, and that is part of being a dad is putting together the toys at the first birthday party. That falls squarely on his shoulders. And you know what? Your wife, I'm gonna have a word with her for giving you an hour window to put it together.
Yeah,
Like
maybe in an hour and a half. Maybe an hour and a half.
either way, you can't
Yeah.
put the same day of the party. You can't put a time constraint on that. Like you can't just say, "Hey, by the way, you got to get that gift together. So and so is coming to buy to pick it up, and he needs a cooler." Like that's a little ridiculous, dude.
And
Like,
then to ask for ice.
yeah,
Can you get ice? I was
I
like,
would, yeah,
no, I can't get ice. There's no ice going. I got to go into the shed, get the big cooler so they could use it. I got to bring this thing out. I open it up. Tim, it was missing two screws. There were supposed to be two screws that put a thing. I had to go into the shed, go into my little jar of screws, find some that like matched, and was like, all right, this will work.
no, I would, you know what I would have done? I would have wrapped it in the box, and she would have came home and said, "Did you? How was putting that thing together?" It's like, look, it fit right back in the box perfectly. It's great. It was really easy. It was simple. All you has to do is open it up, and boom, it's good.
I will say this: the mom sent us a text the next day with the baby in the car, pushing him on the sidewalk.
Don't even tell me you felt great about it.
No,
All
but
right.
she was appreciative that it was put together. Thank you for putting it together, she said. I was like, huh. And I said to my wife, did you tell her that I was bitching about putting this thing together? And she's like, no, I didn't say anything about it. So kudos to her for recognizing, hey, they took the time to actually even put this thing together. You know what I mean? So, and
I,
by the way, Tim, let me tell you the line that was used to put this thing together. Hey, we've got to put this together before they come there. I was a we've got to put this thing together.
there ain't no way. I'll tell you, Tom, I had one of the um most epic. It wasn't even epic, but obviously I have two children. They both turned one at some point in their lives, right?
Right? Yes.
And my oldest daughter's first birthday, we had it at a house that we were renting at the time, me and my ex-wife. And it was just a tiny house, Tom. And on the invitation we sent out, we're like, listen, we're gonna have my ex-wife's family over first in the morning from like 11 to 2. And then because the party was in the Roxborough area, right? Her family was from Reading and my family was from the local area. So like it just made sense, right? Like so on the invitation, hey, ex-wife's family show up from 11 to 2, and then my family would show up afterwards. So 11 rolls around, and my ex-wife's family starts piling into the house, and it's tight already. And lo and behold, my dad's brother starts walking up the stairs, him and his wife, and they're like 75 years old. And it's like 11:15, and
Oh
they
no.
walk up, and I'm like, Uncle Fred, what are you doing here? It says on the invitation, that like the Schmidts are coming at
2
2:30, three
o'clock.
o'clock.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't give a shit. Like, if you know my uncle, he just looks exactly like my dad, and he don't care. Like, he just wants to go in and have a beer. So I'm like, look, you're not gonna know anybody. So I pull him aside. I'm like, you're not really gonna know anybody. Like, it's all my wife's side of the family. So he's like, shut up. I'll just go in the basement. So he goes in the basement and he's like, get me a beer. It's like, we get him a Yingling, and he's sitting down in the basement with his wife, my Aunt Anita, and they're sitting there for like 15 minutes. And he walks up the stairs and he's like, I'm getting the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. He's like, I don't know anybody. He's like, why the hell would you invite me over at 11 o'clock when no one's showing up at 2? I said, it's on the invitation, dude. Like, and like, I
Is
know
this in front of everybody? He's putting
no,
you
like,
out? Oh, okay.
no, we're kind of having a sidebar, but like it's at the party. And he's like, well, what the hell do you want me to do? I said, you know where my dad lives? He lives 3 blocks from here. Just go over and hang out with my dad for a little bit and then come back over at 2 o'clock. Well, guess what? My cousins, so I have their sons, my Uncle Fran and Anita's sons, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, they're all older than me, right? Brendan,
Fucking
and
apostle.
Carolyn.
What are these guys?
Uh, it, it's the whole
Matthew, Mark,
like,
Luke, and John. What are they
yeah.
writing the Bible?
Yeah. So that whole story has now turned into I threw out my Uncle Fran and Aunt Anita out of my kid's first birthday party because they showed up early. Dude,
What?
and every family party we go to, they all tell the same story about how you threw out Uncle Fred out of your birthday, out of your kid's birthday party. I'm like, that's not how it, dude. I've been dealing with this for 9 years at every family party. It just doesn't stop, and it's relentless. And all the brothers are just they hammer me all the time about doing it. It's like I just look forward to that moment at a family party where they bring up, you remember when you threw Uncle Fran out of the party? I'm like, Jesus Christ, like this
Is
is
this
not how
ever
it
gonna
went down.
end? Yeah. You threw him out. You grabbed, you pushed him, you shoved him out. Like it's probably just getting worse and
Yeah.
worse as the years
Get
go
the hell
by.
out of here.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yes. How dare you?
Of course they totally embellish it. Like, yeah,
Right.
you kicked him right out of the front door. He fell down the steps. So
Oh
anyway, that's
man.
my first birthday party.
Well, if I could talk about one more, I was at my a birthday party, a 1-year-old birthday party. It was a coworker's party. You'll know them, Timmy. We were discussing a topic that we'll be getting into later, travel sports, with one of them last night. Their daughter had just turned 1, and they were
Mm.
having a party, and I was over there, and we're hanging out. And at this time in my life, I was big into chugging twisted teas. So we'd be out at the bar, and someone would say, "Oh, let's do a shot." I'd say, "Yeah, screw that. Let's just chug a twisted tea." And Tim, I'm pretty good. I was pretty good at chugging twisted teas. You know what I mean? I'd put them down pretty easily. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're there, and they're talking shit about this and that, and they coax me into having a chug off with one of the guys there. And he, unbeknownst to me, is apparently like one of the neighborhood's best chuggers. You know what I mean? So it's basically as fast as it'll pour out of a bottle. That's how quick he's gonna chug this thing. So
Sure.
I'm like, I could take him. I'm pretty. I'd beaten everyone that I knew up until that point, just by chugging, which was a handful of my buddies at the bar. And so we get there, and now we're going to chug off, and I like to kind of warm up the twisted tea a little bit. Sometimes they're ice cold and they're hard to get down. So then I said, hey, let me give me a minute, let me warm. So then we go, boom, and he fucking kicks my ass. He destroys me, right? And so I'm like, oh man, I just got embarrassed in front of all these people at this 1-year-old's birthday party and a twisted tea chug off, right? So I said, hey, we're going again, dude. I think I can take you. I wasn't that far off, and let's go again. So this time I said, I'm just going for it. I'm just gonna go for it, and I'm gonna get him. And I'm wearing a white shirt. Okay. So One, two, tap, down, go, right? Tap, down, tap, go, whatever we did. So we go tap, down, tap, boom. And I'm like, I'm kipping right with him. And I'm going, boom. Next thing you know, gag reflex,
Oh.
out the nose, out the mouth, all over my shirt. Everyone's like losing it because I just fucking boom. I just fucking all over. And so became really good friends with that guy. And shout out to Mr. Rob Mace, who likes to listen to our show. But we never forget about that 1-year-old's birthday party where we had the Twisted Tea chug off that will never be forgotten. All right, Tim. So this week, one of the slowest weeks in sports every year. Very slow week, right? But I guess one of the highlights, some might say, is the MLB All-Star break with the Home Run Derby and the All-Star game. Tim, All-Star games as a whole, what are your thoughts on them? You got the NBA All-Star game, you've got the NFL Pro Bowl, you've got the NHL
Which
All-Star game, and you have the Major League Baseball All-Star game. Thoughts on All-Star games and maybe in particular the MLB All-Star game?
Well, I mean, the MLB baseball and basketball are very comparable because they have like the whole weekend, right? Um, Obviously, yeah, the NBA has the All-Star weekend. The MLB stuff is like during the middle of the week, but like the slam dunk contest is very similar to, and 3-point contest is very similar to the home run contest. But like at this point, it's just such a waste anymore. I think the baseball one is probably the best. It was actually a good game the other night. I didn't watch it because I just don't really have much interest in it. The NBA game used to be so good. The All-Star game used to be so great. And people would play defense, and I sound like an old man, I know, but it was another game, and the players really cared about it, and they competed hard for it. And they really wanted to win. And it just lost its luster over the years because the players really don't give a shit about it anymore. It's more of a social gathering than anything, which is fine. But I mean, why play the game anymore? If people are worried about getting hurt and all this other shit, just name them to the All-Star team, give them,
A
X
week
amount of
off.
days off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then get back at it. I don't get it. The home run derby, I said to my buddy the other day, I said, I'd rather watch Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, and Ken Griffey Jr. try to hit home runs right now at their age instead of watching these guys do it. I mean,
100%. I would love to see that.
the one dude hit 41 home runs, I think, in one round. Like, it's mind blowing. And then like when you have a player in it, you're like, dude, I really kind of don't want my guy to win it. I want him to bail out in like the first round because you don't want him to waste all those swings. Like, I remember years ago, Bobby Abreu was in the home run derby contest and he ended up winning it. But like, I think he took over like 200 swings. He hit a total of like 100 and some home runs. And like the second half of the season, he sucked. It
It
was just
seems to be
like,
the curse. When you win the
yeah,
home run derby, the rest of the season, it's like your home runs aren't as you don't hit them. It's weird.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of the All-Star games, it's kind of watered down anymore. And yeah, when I used to know every player in every league. I'm talking hockey, baseball, like on every other teams. And that was probably because of my dedication to like, the newspaper and video games. Like I would get the newspaper, I'd read all the box scores and I'd see, who hit home runs and stuff like that. And like then I would go play video games. I'd be like, oh, dude, Cecil Field is really good. Like, let me be the Tigers, right? And I would know all their lineup. Who's Kevin Moss? Like, guys like that were just unheard of, right? But they were on the roster. And it just like I think the All-Star game really is where you start to get to see guys that you never played, that you never saw play before, right? In the AL in the American League. But now they do, they do interleague games now. So you get to see these players come, you get to see a Mike Trout and a Shohei Ohtani come to your stadium and play for 3 games. You get to see some of the guys, the Astros, and some of these big time players that you never used to be able to see because it was strictly national and strictly American. and then the only time they would cross over would be in the World Series, and you don't get that. You don't get that anymore because they play each other all the time. So it's lost its luster. It's a shame because it used to be one of the highlights of the year for me when I was a kid growing up, watching that All-Star game and seeing like Cal Ripken Jr. and guys that were just larger than life. And now it's kind of it's just another game.
Yeah. And the one that kind of rings out for me and like always, I'm funny enough, I'm wearing the hat right now is Ken Griffey Jr. Seeing him in the All-Star game, the home run derby is something I'll never forget and was like what I really used to love. Yeah, it's just become it's something different than what it was, and I understand why it is, but at this point, I would rather them just say, "Hey, it's the All-Star break. These are the All-Stars for the first half. We name them." And I'd rather see some old timers out there playing a game of softball or something, that is competitive and fun, that I would like to see. So I don't know. Maybe they need to start rethinking these All-Star games. I would say though too, in the NBA, the highlight to me is the 3-point contest. There's no judging that. It's just whoever wins wins. I love the 3-point contest. I think it's great. That's maybe my
Well, it's
highlight of the NBA one.
yeah, well, and that's held up over the test of time. It's like, hey, who's the best shooter, right? Who can get the hottest? Um, some of these dunk contests and the rules that they've come up with, like, you got guys missing dunks for like a minute and 20 seconds, and then they go up and do a two-handed slam and it's over. It's like, I mean, back in the day, you missed the dunk, you're out.
Yeah,
That was
right.
it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Jordan didn't jump from the foul line 13 times before he made that dunk. He did it once, like that iconic dunk from the foul line, where,
Yeah. Basically his logo.
yeah. I mean, but over the years, we've gotten some really good dunk contests. Some of these guys can do crazy things. The guy for the Sixers that won it this year, like,
Mac
I mean,
McClung.
that thing, yeah, I mean, the dude just jumps out of the building. I think that was probably the best one we've seen since Vince Carter, maybe. But yeah, the All Star stuff is kind of over and played and done with, and it's great to see these guys make the All Star team. But like some of these guys, like there's guys like Bryce Harper. Last year, Bryce Harper didn't make the All Star team, and I think was a front runner for like the MVP. Or the year before that, I'm sorry, the year before that, he won the MVP and didn't make the All Star team. Like,
Wow.
how does that make sense?
Yeah, it doesn't. So, Timmy, these All-Stars and this brings us to our next topic where when we were kids and you'd be an all-star of a different sport, you'd have your season and maybe the all-stars would then form a team and then you'd go play a couple travel games, at least in my experience. And that would be the end of your season. For specifically, I'm thinking baseball. For me, when I was younger, baseball was we would play our season in our league against the different teams, and then we would come up with the best team that we could come up together with, right? Of the couple teams that we had, they would go to different tournaments, roughly around the same area. The winner of that would maybe go to another one, and then so on and so forth. But it wasn't every weekend. You're not traveling all over the place. The things that they got kids doing and parents paying for these days in youth sports is pretty out of control. And I'm on the outside looking in with a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old thinking like, what am I going to be getting myself into in a couple years with this travel again? Am I going to have enough money to afford all this stuff? Is this stuff out of control? Can they change this?
I don't know. I mean, I'm so annoyed with it, and I haven't even had to deal with it yet. Like my kids are up in Reading, and they play local sports up there, so I have to travel to Reading regardless because that's where they live with their mom, and it's an hour and 20 minutes up, and I watch a 45-minute soccer game, and then I come home. If I have my kids for the weekend, I drive them up to the game, and then I drive them home. Like that's the price that I have. That's the price that I have to pay because I am a divorced father, but like I want to make sure that my kids experience, you know, sports and they're able to play on a team and enjoy themselves. But like what I'm hearing from other dads is just absurd. Like how much time they're putting in and how far they have to go. And there's tournament teams and there's AAU teams and like, you know, the money that they're shelling out. Like, I mean, we had a conversation with one of your coworkers who she has, I believe, two kids that play travel volleyball, and she's spending thousands of dollars just in travel to go to hotels and to go to leagues and to go to like tournaments, getting on planes and flying to Florida. And like, I mean, no disrespect. I don't know how good, her
They're
kids
very
are at
good.
sports or anything like that. But like, at what point do you say, all right, enough's enough? Like I know you want to provide for your children and you want to give them every opportunity, right, to be great at what they want to do and they want to enjoy themselves and stuff like that. But like at some point, like when do you turn it off? Like when do you say, I'm not shelling out $4,000 to go play in a tournament, in whatever county it is for it just doesn't make any sense. And like I guess if they don't do it, then they fall behind. And
Yeah.
I just don't. I really don't know how it works like that, dude. It just it frustrates me because, like I said to you, dude, my parents would drive basically to 21st Ward, which was the local baseball league in this area. They would drive 25 minutes, maybe 20 minutes up the road, drop me off. Okay. They'd watch a game. We'd be up there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, get a slice of pizza at the end of the day and go home. Right. And we do that 3 or 4 times a week. Okay. And then that would happen for 2 months, like during the entire summer. And you'd plan your vacation around it because you couldn't miss any games. But it just, and that was that though. Like, and afterwards, like you said, there was a tournament team or there was, some sort of all-star team or like the Roxborough Rebels, which is like the local team that they would enter into competition or whatever. Um, but like now it's become year round almost, right? Like the
Yeah.
baseball season lasts 4 or 5 months now. The basketball season, like you have to pick one sport or
Well, that's what I was
basically
gonna
from
say
what
to you. The like almost the specialization. It's like you're playing one sport. You're not like my buddy's a high school coach for basketball, and he's excited because he's got kids coming up now that are one sport athletes, and they play basketball year round, and that's all they play. He's not competing with football or baseball or whatever other sport that they could play. And I love playing multiple sports. I like the different seasons. And oh man, for me it was soccer. Soccer's coming up, and then it was wrestling in the fall, and then baseball in the spring, and then summer we just played, with our neighborhood friends after baseball was over.
yeah.
And you get to
eh,
meet more people, you know what I mean? You become friends. Like when you're on a sports team with someone, and especially if you're successful, you really get a bond with that person that lasts a lifetime. I still see people where we were good and we won a championship here, or we moved to, we did this or that. And it's like you see each other and glory days, you reminisce about, oh man, remember when we beat this team and there was like crazy atmosphere and whatever. And you know what I mean? It's and to not be able to have that kind of sucks.
some of the funniest shit I hear and I see from coaches is like, yeah, like say take example, like a football coach, and it's like, oh no, we encourage our players to play other sports, and we want them to play other sports and try different things. It helps them as athletes to be well rounded in different sports, and like, playing baseball will help football, and being a basketball player can also help in different aspects. And then they turn around and they go, oh yeah, but don't forget we have spring practice, in April, and you have to, it's mandatory. And then like at the at the end of the
Yeah.
season, hey, oh, we got speed camp that you have to be at, and you better show up for that. And it's like, all right, so I thought you wanted me to play other sports, right? Like
Yeah, right.
speed camp takes place during baseball season. Like what like, and if I don't go to speed camp, then I get what, benched, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
or yeah, because Steve showed up to speed camp and I didn't because I was playing baseball, does he get my position? Like what's going on here? Like it's so sad that youth sports has come to this point, and I don't know what it is and why it's at this stage, but something's got to give, dude. Because like, and I feel terrible for the parents too, because the parents are the ones that are getting drug all over the world for this fucking shit, dude.
And the money.
And
This is
yeah,
big
and
money,
then
dude.
yeah, and God knows league fees and all this other shit that they're charging for. Who knows where that money goes? I don't
Especially what
know,
if you have
dude.
to play a sport like I know my brother-in-law hockey, the amount of money you got to shell out for ice time and equipment and stuff like that when you're just trying to play. I mean, dude, that's a second mortgage, you know?
Yeah, and we should honestly have somebody on that has been through this because I haven't had to shell out like any money at all for sports for youth sports, but I mean someone that has had a bad experience or what it is. It just it needs to stop, and there needs to be a voice for those fucking people that are going through it because it's taking up a lot of time. And there's got to be some result that ends better for these people
Well,
because
I'm
they're
just
putting a
wondering
lot of
if they
time and
can
effort into
set some boundaries, you know, like there's leagues popping up, there's tournaments popping up everywhere, and people are trying to, I'm assuming they're just making a good amount of money, and you see all these like different tournament areas that are being built up. And if they could just say, hey, like, we're not traveling, we're only traveling out of this region one time this year. We're not going down to Florida twice. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to go to Florida and like, especially for a grade school athlete. You know what I mean? Like in high school,
it.
we got one big tournament a year that we went to in wrestling, and that was in Delaware. We went to the Beast of the East. It was fortunate that it was in like the big tournament in the country was close by. Is either that or the Reno tournament, that you could fly out to. But whatever. And I know soccer, when we had travel soccer, we would have one, like, there was one big tournament a year that we would travel for that, but it was one time, usually over Memorial Day. But whatever. I
If
don't
it
know where
Tom,
this is going.
if it comes down to it, right, and your kid is eventually going to go to college, right, and play sports, and is going to get a scholarship for it, then yeah, sure, it was all worth it, right?
Right.
Because your kid's going to get a free education, or there's going to be a discounted type of situation at college where like, hey, they'll be able to play sports, but yeah, they're going to be able to get an education for discounted rate, whatever. Like that's really the crux of it. But like, I mean, if you have a kid that is not very good and loves to play sports, and you're shelling out $4,000 a year for him to just go to goddamn Florida, it makes no freaking sense. So as a parent, yeah, you have to make a decision. But like, do you really want to like take your kid off that team because his buddies are playing and all this other shit? Like, so it's
Right.
just what, like a social club that I have to pay $4,000 for?
Right. And then, like you said, if your kid's really not that great, next thing you know, you're shelling out all this money, and you're, because there's rumblings on every team, like, oh, well, shoot, if he wouldn't have made that error, like it would have been, we could have, so it's like, man, oh, can't wait. Can't wait to get into that. Tim, this past weekend, you went and saw a movie that you are a huge fan of, the
Mm.
series, the the
Yep.
the the overall series of it. Tim, real quick, I was hoping to get an honest, a fair, unbiased review on the new Indiana Jones movie. Tell us all about it. No spoilers.
Um, so the movie in itself, it ran a little long. Um, the storyline was really good. I thought the storyline from start to finish was good. There are some CGI scenes in there where they have a young Indiana Jones in there, so you get to see Indiana Jones at a younger age, but obviously that is done through CGI, which is computer graphic imaging. Um,
Now, is that Harrison Ford now that they've made look younger? Kind of like what was
cor-
the De Niro movie a couple years
yeah,
ago?
The Irishman, yeah.
The Irishman, like that?
Yeah, very similar to that. But it was really well done. The only issue I have is like they're using Harrison Ford's voice like with this younger Indiana Jones, so it kind of didn't really match up in terms of like the age, right? It's like, all right,
Okay. He
it's
sounds
gives
older.
sounds a lot older than he looks,
Yeah.
and hey, it is what it is. Look, beggars can't be choosers, right? So yeah, if you want another Indiana Jones film, this is what you're going to get. This is how you got to piece it together. Really enjoyed the storyline from start to the middle to the finish. Unlike the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the ending was a lot more believable, if you will. But I mean, if you look at all these movies, right? There's five of them now that have been done. There's a lot. There's an element of believability and total fiction. Okay, like if you look at Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first one that was made, the end of that movie, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, they open up the Ark of the Covenant and lightning and fire and essentially ghosts come down from the heavens and kill all the Nazis, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't really happened in real life. Okay, like let's be honest. In the Temple of the Doom, there's a guy that's a sheik essentially, and he's pulling hearts out of guys' chests. Like, it doesn't happen. Okay, it's totally fiction. But what made those storylines believable is just that it dances on the side of reality, like with religion. Like, yeah, you believe that there's an Ark of a Covenant, or you believe that um yeah, there could be some sort of aliens out there, or yeah, stuff like that. Like, there's things that kind of make you believe it because it teeters on the verge of fiction and reality, right? Like, you want to believe it, but it's probably not likely it's ever going to happen.
Right.
um so the movie in itself, I thought was really good. I thought it was a good send off. There was a little, I think there was a couple cameos they probably could have done without, callbacks from past movies that didn't need to be in there. But all in all, I thought Indiana Jones, I thought Harrison Ford really held his own. Yeah, as the character for one last ride. I think it's definitely worth seeing. It's entertaining. It's nonstop action from start to finish. There's not really any, bullshit that's in it. It's pretty good. So I would say it's not better than the three original, but I would say it's better than the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That's my review.
All right.
I'd give it I'd give it a B minus C plus.
Whoa. I'm gonna have to check that out. I love the first three. Obviously Crystal Skull wasn't a big one for me, but this one I'm excited to go see. So I'm gonna have to find time to go see it, or I guess I'll just have to wait. Tim, one last thing before we go. I'm having trouble. Sometimes I have trouble letting things go. Okay. And so me and my wife got into a bit of an argument maybe a couple weeks ago, a bickering, about y- like the common bickering of who's doing what around the house, different responsibilities, this and that. And she alluded to the fact that, basically I do nothing, right? Which I took offense to because, Tim, I do a lot. I feel like I do a lot, as she feels like does a lot. And we both do a lot, and we get frustrated when the other person, and that's just normal everyday relationship stuff, right? And so last night, we're recording today because last night my wife went out to a concert. She went to go see Yellow Card with her and her girlfriends. I came home from work, both kids, obviously had to get them bathed, fed, you know, put down. Some of them have to take some medicine before they go to bed, yada, yada, yada. I take care of all of that. The dog, do some dishes, go to bed, watch my shows that we're trying to follow. And she comes home. And so today I get a text. She has to wake up, go to work. I get a text, and she's thanking me for holding down the fort last night and taking care of the kids. Well, Tim, being that last week she said that I, don't do much at all, I responded, and I could have taken the high road, but I've got to work on this. I responded. She said, "Thank you so much for holding the fort down while I was out." My response: I'm just glad to finally be able to contribute to this family.
You are such a dick. You are such a dick.
I couldn't help myself, Tim. And
Well,
when I said it in a jestful manner, but a little bit
it's
of
in your
hey, reminder,
it's
I do a lot here, Toots.
it's in your nature, Tom. You can't not say that.
I can't not say it. Is that a
Yeah,
problem? Is that an issue that I need to get fixed? Or I mean, she's aware of it.
Tom.
If anyone knows
She's
that I can't not say
she
that, is her.
she's she's been with you for quite some time. She knows that side of you, Tom, and she knows that that's never going to go away. And that's why and Tom, I'd say that's the reason why she loves you.
Love and marriage. Well, let me tell you something, Tim. I love everyone out there that's listening to Schmidt Lavelle, the fastest growing podcast in all of Northeast Pennsylvania,
And
Philadelphia,
Thailand.
Thailand. Tim,
And I
how's
can
that
start
tooth feeling?
I'm starting to feel this right now. This is nice.
Ooh, look at
Look, watch
that.
this. Steven Spielberg. Steven
Whoa.
Spielberg.
Ow now, brown cow. Ow now, brown cow. Is that what it is? Well, once again, thank you so much for listening to Schmidt Lavelle. If you like what we're doing, please give us a like, follow, share, subscribe, comment. Tell us what you'd like us to talk about. We'll definitely bring it up on the show. And hopefully you'll enjoy what we're doing. Timmy, anything you'd like to say to all the fans out there before we sign off tonight?
Love you, Chad.
Ched, we're back to Ched. Cheers to Ched, and cheers to you for listening to Schmidt and Lavelle. New episodes every Thursday on all podcast platforms and YouTube. Have a great rest of your week. The Phillies will be back on Friday against San Diego Padres. I'll be down at the fireworks game. Hoping to see some fireworks myself. Enjoy a little family time. Timmy, have a great weekend. And everyone else, we love you.